Good morning. Welcome back to the few that have arrived in the pit this morning. Jesus, what's up, buddy? We've got some interesting action, to say the least, I would say. And actually what helps us set us up quite a bit with where prices are opening. We're opening right back on this trendline support across the market basically. But we have a little bit of, again, what we're trying to do right now, or again, just looking through my lens. I'm fully set on long positions, but what I'm trying to still set up are my growth positions. I got quite a bit yesterday, right? We had quite some trades that were possible yesterday. We can look back at those, and then today, the other portion of the trades I need to set up is that very short term, volatile sort of trades like travel. Well, what do we get today? Travel is actually opening a little bit lower. Now we're kind of getting it already here, where you can see that I have the SPY pre-market on. You can see that we're getting some bid already here because we're opening lower, and this is exactly. We'll see how this sets up on things like CCL here. This is exactly like the problem is that we can see this and be like, perfect. This is a great opportunity for us to go get this kind of trade here. That again, I'm not taking anything short term anymore, right? We're talking 3-month options, trying to really push the envelope of what we're doing here, and especially for again, all of our other value trades are. I mean, they're a walk in the park compared to some of these more volatile trades, especially compared to growth, and then compared to these short-term volatile things like travel. And so we have to take the opportunity when it comes here. Now, if we're gonna go bid, so we're down 1.5%. It's gonna possibly open right on support. These are basically, it's not like it's a rush, but I definitely want to try to again, and I've said this since we sort of changed the mentality a little bit here, is that it's not about being perfect on timing, but I still want to be able to generate alpha from some of these ideas of catching it when I can, and from some price action that I believe is probably being traded for the wrong reasons. And again, no matter what the reason is for why someone's trading it, at the end of the day, you still have to trade it, and you have to go in there and buy and exit, and that's gonna produce the same result no matter what your reason is. And so none of us get a note for why you're buying or why you're selling, and so this kind of thing here. I mean, we'll see what this turns into. There's a few other examples that across the travel sector. Now, what's the best way to go about this? I mean, it's not exactly pretty. If we look at just the airlines, like the average here, it's again, this is not going to be perfect timing, but how long, or really what is my trajectory in terms of waiting, being patient, or just taking the trade anyways? And I've talked about this a little bit yesterday, is that some of these trades are, you don't really get to know when this is going to stop its downtrend, but if you're taking a long trade, then you have an ability to take a trade here that we're opening about 1.5% lower on the travel sector. You can wing it a little bit and say, okay, we're down 1.5% today. We have an expectation of the market continuing to trend here. The travel move is definitely reacting to some COVID news. I could take a trade here right at open. Try to see the first few ticks from the open and see what that is, and then we're already seeing it pre-market, and then take the trade here, a long-term trade, and realize that I could probably lose 1% or so on the underlying, and I'd still be gaining on those contracts. Again, if you're buying long-term, what's happening there is your premium's going up, because as it goes into the future, volatility goes up, which is all the premium really is. And all it's doing is reacting negatively to that underlying in that moment. And then as the underlying is no longer moving, all it's going to start to do is react to that IV. And that IV is going to climb. That's just one of the side effects, again, of how that price moves for being a long-term contract. You're at such a low end of the curve that really the underlying is going to affect you in such a way that it will positively affect you on volatility. So I'm thinking today I'm gonna pull the trigger on this last portion of my portfolio. When it comes to growth, again, we have tickers that I kind of used the shop example a few times yesterday coming into support. I bought this yesterday. I said we're not going to wait till open. Again, it's break even at the open. What does that mean for options? You gain on your options. You're gonna see that when these things open. Again, it could go down today and then it doesn't turn into anything. But it's the chances again that you don't take that aren't going to be worth anything. This is on a pretty strong support. Again, almost every growth ticker looks like this, so it's not just this one here. But I specifically bought the growth tickers that were on support, right? Not just in the middle of nowhere, and then I do want to have a long position on. Now, when we look at some other tickers, so something like Spot here, it's the same premise, right? But some of these again, we have different trajectories and different timings, and so it really comes down to again an individual level, and also some of the biases that come from if you were already trading it. I made the mentions of things like Twitter and Snap here, where I made this trade, made my 100% from support up to the trend line resistance, and then the trades here. And these are harder trades to take because of this trade. And there's the psychological thing you just have to do to be able to remove some of that and beyond the experience and sort of the feel you got from that. If you're now going to look to make a long-term trade, you have to remove some of this idea here of the money you made in a short-term trade to go put a long-term trade on. And what you'll find is an ability to actually just buy this here. And you can actually just buy these things that, it does seem it seems a little silly here sometimes if you're making a short-term trade to take a trade here because, again, you're trying to be perfect, where as soon as you buy it, it immediately takes off. And those ideas, those are still true, but when you have a long-term trade, again, you have this flexibility, and there needs to be more, there needs to be maybe less pressure and more of a reasoning in terms of a longer term, which is I'm going to have a trend here and I don't have to worry about it and sit on this. And I've talked a lot about this idea of, at lunch, if you need to watch and see what's happening with your position, it's probably not the position to be in at the moment, right? Yeah, there's times when we need to be aggressive and we need to be really all over our positions. Right now is probably not it, right? Right now is probably, it isn't. It isn't because, again, most of my portfolio is just sitting here in a long value Dow sort of situation, and then through some S&P vehicles that we just continue to trend. I have banks, right? Energy. If you look at the energy numbers, this is a very, again, I'm not specifically in Exely here, but this is a sort of opportunity here again that when you look at what's happening with oil and there's a chance here for a nice long-term trade, the timing on this again is not going to be, it's not going to be perfect here. But this is a situation where we take a short-term trade like on oil here, and we understand that crude. So when you look at these, when you look at those ETFs there, you'll see that it's not lined up with crude, right? Well, so what's wrong there? Something is wrong there. And so when I look at that, I say, okay, I want to take a long-term trade. I'm not trying to take a short-term trade. And so with that in mind, I know that energy on the equity side. So again, we're looking at crude futures here. Crude futures in energy, and then so XLE and XOP are directly correlated to the crude price. And this is just a fact, but they're not lined up with it right this moment. So what does that mean? We can go take a long-term trade there, go buy 3-month call options and possible spreads right now. And you can sit in that trade and let it trade sideways. And if these things are correlated, which they are, then as those come up on XLE and XOP, what's going to happen? You're going to be making profit, right? And it doesn't need to be right now. And this is the hard part about changing from a style of trading where we're buying on support and you need that thing to really take off and you're looking to make that money right then, and it needs to be direct and have a speed to it. The trading right now that I'm talking about of this longer term idea, it doesn't need to capture immediately. And that can be very difficult for some people to be able to take a trade and for 2 days for it to do nothing. But it's because you're not going to be able to time it when it does make a move. Think about it. If this crude here is really taking off, right? But then you come over here and there's nothing happening on the actual energy side. How are you going to be able to time it when it does make a move? You're not going to be able to. And so as soon as it does make a move, it's going to be too late to buy it because it's going to be too much of a rush and it will happen too quickly. And that's where the market is right now. And because think about it, everything's trending to the upside. When things do make a big move, it's just in such a way that it's not coming from a pullback. It's just coming from a high, or it's in that situation where it's just trading flat, and one of these days it'll just open higher and you miss the move. It won't happen intraday, right? None of these things will happen intraday, which is again the problem of trading options is we have to wait this whole morning to go get into a position when people are looking at things and going, "Oh, let me buy this. I got all morning to go buy it," when they're looking at shares, right? And so some of these ideas, again, you're going to have to, again, you don't have to, but there are times when the best opportunity is the one that you have to actually sit in, and that happens, right? That's quite literally what having a longer term trade is going to be, and this is where the pullback idea of being able to hold through a pullback or just hold through a pause, that's the whole point of having a long-term trade. So I think today is going to be a good start to feeling that, because again, we're opening, I mean, we're opening basically break even. We're down 30 basis points. So again, we were down 0.5% yesterday. We haven't even been down 1% yet overall in the market. But we're going to open lower again here today and be trading flat. This is a good opportunity to be able to feel your portfolio and the positions you have right now, and to see whether or not you can actually push through these, right, and continue to push them. You should be able to. The answer is you should be able to. And if you feel like you're getting negatively hurt, then it's time to trim the hedges. You got to cut some of that junk off, some of that shit that you got sitting in your, you're looking at your P&L and going, this doesn't look right. That means it's time to cut it, right? Get rid of it, because that's not something that you want to be a part of, because you don't need to be. The reality is you don't actually have to be a part of that, because you can be in a position that's going to give you value into the long term here, which, again, the thing here is that if this trend continues and we're not getting the thing is we're not getting selling. So this price move that you see is just a part of this trend. If we weren't going to be in this trend, this would sell. We would be out of it. Even when you look at the NASDAQ, this is a little bit more here, but the reality still stands that we know growth is going to be a little bit more volatile because of how it trades, but this still is not selling out of the trend. Yeah, it curled over a little bit, slowed down. That's what price movement does after it does this much price action, right? But when we look at the actual players in that market, and you look at these charts, whoops, that's not it. But again, we're looking for these. That's not it. When you look at the actual mega caps involved here, you really get the sense that this isn't going anywhere, and that this was a nice trade. But really what makes it a nice trade is, yeah, it's one thing, again, captured short term here, but we extended this into long term trade. It's really what comes here after that matters. You don't really care about the points in here. Yeah, it's part of the profit, but if you think about if you bought Apple a year ago, you didn't care about the points that were from in here. Yeah, it just kept trending. It was the points that came after that actually mattered and actually make something. And it's the same idea that right now, if you're taking a long-term trade, it's because you're betting on more. You want more. You can be greedy here in the long term. You want something to be coming in for a reward that you're paying for, because you're paying more right now. You're paying to be in a position. It's like if you opened a bank account and you had to pay the bank to hold your money. That's what you're doing right now, because you're paying for holding something to be able to get something in return a little bit later. And yeah, you can say that with short-term trades, but it's not exactly true, because if we take a short-term trade, I want to get paid right now. You're going to need to pay me to be in this position. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in it, right? So you got to, again, flip the script a little bit there. Again, it's important just to be more portfolio management, risk management right now over direct technical plays that offer something right this moment. So we're not looking for alpha so much like we did 2 weeks ago, where we're going from support to trend line, and we're trying to really make those trades happen and really hunt for them. We did that, and you took those opportunities there. Now when you're coming into these highs, It's about being able to manage what you have. It's not because you don't want to, again, what I'm adding, I'm not adding at highs, I'm adding at lows still, right? And again, I'm not talking about lows, the department store, I'm talking about lows in price. We're adding at the lows to finish off our portfolio. We're not buying at highs. What we're trying to do is manage it here with a bias of pushing it further. And we're trying to be lenient to allow it to happen. For instance, this Apple trade I'm in, I can let off for this position. So I entered here, but my long-term positions really get going from this average in here. So again, I took short-term trades. And my average really, let's just say from this 128.78, my average really comes from in this area, right? And so a lot of this trade here, I'm going to allow this to come down to the same relative reversal point, but it's not just about like 1 or 2 days. I'm talking about more time here, because at the end of the day, with a 3-month options, you really have a month or so that you can let this thing trade through here, and you're not losing value, right? And so that's the kind of thing I am talking about, because you're still having a better average in this portion, whatever this timing is in here for the upside compared to even this point here. Well, again, a lot of it comes through here still. And so you're trying to, again, capture as much as possible, but it's not in this moment. It's what's going to come next. And a lot of what comes next here is an area where there's not so much of an expectation of this continuing. There's an expectation that, okay, prices are not selling, but the market still is not in a state where it can confidently say something's going to happen. And that's, again, what you're going to get paid for. In the longer into the future you're betting for that, which, again, if you're taking, it's really easy to say that you're buying long term and that's somehow safer. It's safer in the short term because you don't have exposure to the short term. But you have to remember that if you are buying something 3 months out, what you're actually doing is you're betting that price is going to be there in 3 months. So if you're betting higher, you're quite literally betting that the market's going to continue to trend to that point. You just may not have exposure that it's reacting in the moment here. And so if you are taking those from this point, you are stipulating that this is going to continue. And most people aren't really doing it like that. Remember, most people, or really what the market's doing here is everyone's already bought everything. And what's happening is, since there's no supply, the price can continue to trend sort of on this average trend through the demand that we already have, through the function of there's some sectors that will take profit and it sort of rotates, right? It's this revolving market, and it's, again, fueled by the dollar pushing down. Like we saw this big selling yesterday, right? And again, it pushed down further here. It's break even right now. What's happening is the dollar is continuing to flow into the market. It's not so much that the demand is increasing. The demand's actually decreasing overall, and we understand that. But it's going to continue to fuel that equity market to go up. And what's the other function of that? Appreciation from inflation. And we know we have about a year or so before we can say, oh, there's no inflation. Right now, we know that it's picking up. We don't really know what the end result is, but we know the Fed wants it over 2%, which means, well, we've got at least 2% on the market. We've got at least 2%. And if you look at some other things, what do we got? Well, we have a lot more than 2% inflation, because the crypto market's over $2 trillion. $2 trillion is a lot more than 2% overall. It's a lot more. And so we know that some of it's fueled here as well. Again, this price action here, completely normal, looks great. There's nothing to really worry about here. In terms of the coin side, I talked about this trend line that's forming here. Again, I don't trade IPOs, and what I did was a calculation yesterday, those who weren't here, whether it would be worth it for me to go buy shares here. I was looking to buy maybe like 200 shares here at 330. At the end of the day, it doesn't equal enough, even in 1 month, making 30% compared to options. Because again, you have to go pay. You got to go pay the piper to go enter this position. You got to pay it up front. Whereas I can be leveraged buying options, right? And go buy something for $2 on the option market. So to make the same percent. So it still doesn't add up for me to do it here. If there were options, it'd probably be a very different story. I do like the tightening here, the upside move. What's important to note here is this price action is very different. It's very different, and I think this is again tied to a lot of the arc flow idea. And so I bet on a lot of these moves again, all the growth moves that look like this. I put most of those positions on at these lows. They're all opening still higher than where I entered. It's a little bit risky, but again, I'm trying to do it for a long-term trade. I do find that these are very connected. And other people I've talked to, I think they have the same mentality that when you look at the coin and then you look at ARCF and some of the ARC tickers and some of the tickers that are here, one thing is it stands out to me that they all have the same pattern. Every growth chart broke out of the same pattern, right? And all of you can see that the move since then, since the breakout, has been basically the same. I could basically remove the names here and you'd think every chart's the same. That's the end of the day. They look like that. That to me, that pattern recognition there, and that what you guys even see, means we have confirmation across the market that all of this move is connected. And what that should do is it, since the market is on a bullish bias, it should be able to push these prices together. And with prices pushing together, it actually makes a stronger move overall. And what should really happen here is this sort of reversion to the mean, which should be this trend that we were on. And so again, there's selling that happened in here, that this 14th candle, then I know it is not a part of. It's not a part of the move because it already stands out as being sort of an ugly sort of candle that even from just like this is where the numbers don't really help, and you can't use the numbers so much. You have to use a visual, and you can say that doesn't, it stands out, that it's kind of ugly. It's really not trading. There's something more there. And so this is more of a flow dynamic that we should be able to recover some of those points because it's not a part of the average. It's an outlier. That candle's a bit of an outlier, and we have these at times where we remove that. And so on all of these charts, we use SQ. We get 3 minutes. We use SQ. This kind of candle here, if we remove that, it's a very different story, and I think that's exactly what should be done here. And so that's why I took a lot of the trades here, took SQ as well. And if you remove this, you're talking about there's actually a very nice move to continue from here. And the reason why I point this out is because if this candle wasn't here, a lot of these moves, a lot of you would be going, oh, it's a flag, it's a whatever it is. It would just be a very nice pullback and be nice, healthy price movement. This is not nice looking, and it doesn't feel nice. And we had to get out of these positions because of it. If that didn't happen, we would still be in the position. So again, some of this violent price action we got on the 14th date, it needs to be looked at as opportunity, and that's where some of these things that sold further, I say, okay, I want a long position. That's an opportunity for me, so thank you. And I think the reality is here, in the last piece of it, is that the price is lower than it actually should be from a chart perspective. From a chart perspective, the price is lower than it should be. You can look at, and this is where I talked about, if you had no visual and you only had numbers to look at, you would think this chart looks completely different. Even just if you did two things, if you were able to just compare the average, the NASDAQ average, to every growth ticker, you would not think that this chart looks like this, because this is where the prices really are. And so compare this average to all those growth tickers that you see doing this weird thing over here. That's because this is where everything should be converging to. And my bet is that they will, right? They will, and they'll continue this move. So all of those tickers we see, that's why I added those on, and there's still opportunities there, right? And we're going to be really looking for those. But again, it's a month from now, 2 months from now mentality, right? And so again, you got to give it time. You can see I'm not even prepared here. Not looking to make too many trades. So let's feel it out a little bit. And again, it's harder to sit here and even commentate on it because I'm trying to push the time frame out a little bit. But I think some of the ideas yesterday of the hedging, I think that does help ease some anxieties. Again, today, feel, keep sort of your finger on the pulse of your portfolio, and this is where we're opening here. See if you can remove some of that baggage you have, or if you think it's baggage but it's really not, question yourself on whether or not, okay, I'm losing some points here because of where the market's opening and where the price is, and that's okay because I have a long position and I want to push through that. This is a good, again, opportunity to remove some of that. This is my money. I don't want to lose my money. Some of that. It's a good time to maybe, you know, man up a little bit, right? Grow a little bit. Because again, it is hard when you don't know for sure, but you don't need to. You don't need to know for sure. All you gotta do is manage your risk. Just manage your risk well enough here. See, so okay, that SQ move worked. The TWLO worked. So again, I picked up SQ, TWLO, picked up Shop. Those all did well. Netflix is continuing past that resistance again. That's a sneaky little bugger right there. That's a pain in the ass of a trade. We'll see. I picked up SMH off of the support as well. That's doing well. Again, we'll see how travel does here. This is opening way lower, so again, it's rejected. I don't think I can buy it here, so that's a fish out of the water now. We're looking for it to open on support. So let's see. This is again. I'm going to buy this, depending on how low it is. I'm going to buy these, and so this is still trading on the trend. Okay. We're going to buy these probably today, and I think for a long-term position, it's worth it to lose some points there. We'll see where those go to. We'll try to feel those out again. Everything else, no, we should not be buying anything that's negative like that. They should all be trending. But again, for myself, I'm trying to create something that I have exposure to everything, and travel's the only thing I don't have exposure to right now because it's been fucking terrible. So, and you can see why I don't have a position yet. But I do want to be buying on a low like that. Uh, let's see. DQ coming back from yesterday's moves. The FUTU, so again, this had a huge move. This had a big move yesterday. So where this is opening is actually a really nice spot. So again, I know these are never easy when something like I post something like this and then it opens 10% down. It's like, well, is that bad? I mean, there's not really good or bad. It did 16.5% yesterday. So these are never easy. Yeah, I mean, just you either take the trade or you don't. So what are you going to do on those? DQ open on support. That was a nice move. Again, this candle yesterday is extremely bullish. Talked about these tickers that had big bid days. You got to take those trades when they come. Halo, we're coming up to the resistance here. I'm not exactly sure how this reacts. And again, this is one of those trades that, again, we're talking about a bio. You're going to be short-term minded anyway. So again, not every trade is long-term. Not every trade is long-term. I really love this entry, by the way. TWLO, this is a little bit more vertical than the other growth tickers. It is a little bit more vertical. RXT looking very nice. ACI, again, we have some very interesting retail moves. The PETQ move here is cute. Again, some low volume plays that I introduce. little bit low over there. Definitely be careful on things that is low volume and that I'm playing. It's not really fun to have to buy for me. See. Some of the bio moves are definitely interesting. Again, we're trying to take advantage of some of the things that are going on. Show you. Again, we're very trend start. This thing over here with the VIX, again, what we have is this hedging that's still going on, and because again, this is not correlated to the downside. It's only correlated to the downside, and we're not going downwards. So this move again is, we know there's hedging involved, and that does set up opportunities. You have to keep in mind some of the ideas here of what hedging does, and what's happening is we have all these, again, we have these institutions with massive long positions, and as we get into all-time highs, they need to hedge their position as they go. So what are they doing? They're writing calls. So they're selling calls to you and I, right? What happens when they're doing that? The quantity of calls is going up. What happens if the quantity of calls goes up? Well, if it's going up and the demand of those calls also go up, and then the underlying also goes up, what's going to happen? We're going to get some gamma moves that come in. So you've seen some of the charts I posted. I posted everyone's favorite vaccine company, Kodak, again, right? Why? Because what's going to happen? We have a lot of silly things that are going to happen in the market again. And look at this thing is not even, you can't even tell if there's anything going on over here. That's how sort of frivolous this is over here. This sort of thing here, again, it gets really silly really quickly that you're just taking a technical trade and you're just going to get points. You're just going to get points, and it feels really silly, and you're going to tell your friends, oh, I took the best vaccine company from the low. Just remember, right? Just remember what happens on some of these and how even we're talking about hedging on Apple that translates to a gamma move on a ticker that has nothing to do with it, right? Nothing to do with it. That will happen. Nice move here again. There shouldn't be much worry in the market. So all the volatility really should come from the growth side right now. Let's see how the halo does here. Maybe get the move coming through. Mega caps again, very strong. Really, really want this Amazon move to get out of here. I do find this to be very strong. And again, you don't buy. Again, when I take this trade here, you don't buy it for this move that goes to the high. You're pushing it past the all-time high and to get out of this whole fucking mess in here. Look at this stuff. Look at this. Where is my draw? There's. Look at all this crap in here. That's absolute garbage. If you get out of there, you're going to have a heyday that comes through here. Really looking for it to come out. When we think about the trend that Amazon trades on, that's a long-term trade that I definitely be a part of. And again, we're talking about expensive. Tesla from the low trade that we took yesterday as well. Very nice again. Again, there was definitely all of these growth moves that took this move. Again, you take the chance you get, but it's important to still remember that just because the timing worked out, it doesn't mean it's actually good or bad. Sometimes you're going to get it on the low, but if you don't, every time you don't try to take the chance for the low, you're not going to get it, right? So those of you that just watch price go to a low and then it goes up and then you buy it, and then as it starts to sell down, you sell it at a low. Like that's because you're just waiting, right? No price watching. We'll see how this does. Again, the positions I'm putting are all long term, 3 month only. 3 month only. See, I mean, the clean energy side, that is a part of the short term volatility trades that we're trying to get, and these are not. They're not clear at all. So again, these are really the ones we're looking for and waiting for, along with the travel side, right? These are probably going to be the hardest trades that we have to make coming up, because the rest of them are all fucking straightforward. We just sit in them and do nothing. So, I mean, look at these. This is the only thing you have to do is figure out if you can hold through this, which again, why we put long-term trades on. You have a long-term trade on banks here. This move hasn't even moved your option yet. No one has even traded them yet, because everyone already traded them. DQ coming up to resistance. We'll see what we get here. Some of these, again, this is a slippery spot. We'll see what happens in there. Curious what we get on some of these other tickers that have been just sort of hanging out. LLY move is very nice as well. Very nice. That looks, again, here's sort of the dynamic that we get here. You get some of these tickers that are going to trade quicker than your trend, and you're making a long-term trade. So you don't have as much exposure to these moves it's very difficult that if you get a big move here and then it has to come down and you have to hold through it and then it continues back up. It's very hard to do that, but again, you have to mind over matter it, right? Like this here, the Myrna's one's a really good example because it's like every inch of your body and your soul wants to just get out of this position. But if you have a long-term trade, you just gotta just stick with it. Like it could come down, sure, but you'll just take profit. It's fine. You're looking for more, trying to get more. Makisa said, "Call something out." Makisa, I can name 1,000 tickers for you that you can call out that you can buy that we've been buying if you want. Run them. All right, let me guide you through. If you go to the left side of the Discord, this Unrefusables thing, right? All right. So since the 25th, we've bought up just about all those, especially if it's in the Dow, all of these ones, and then if it's on the S&P, most of those ones, most of the banks. And if you bought all those and then you took the growth moves, now what you're looking for are short-term vol that you haven't been able to get into, like travel, clean energy, and then some of the growth tickers that have been difficult, like EVs, Ford. I just got stopped out of. So again, these moves are going to be the hard ones that we're looking to get a long-term, 3 month out, 3 month out. Things like GE over here, right? This is a situation where you take these trades, you get out of them. When do you take this trade? There's really not a time that you take the trade. You're either taking these trades or you're not, and you're going to be a part of them. Some of these, again, this is where the ETFs will help. And again, as we've shifted into long terms, like I take this trade on SMH yesterday, right on support. And look at it's not like we're jumping off the page here. But what you have is an ability to just sit here and don't have to do anything. Now, the NVIDIA position is far better, and that's why I'm still a part of this position here. And again, holding through this is really not a problem if you're in a long-term position. And so you're trying to get exposure to this, but some of the ETFs definitely help. And I think the bank move is the one that this kind of shit here is so fucking hard to time. And even right now, it's like you're looking at some of these and it's like, okay, maybe we have to make decisions. And that's where this will help even that out. Because look at this move here comparatively. And like you look at JP Morgan, it's just disgusting, right? Look at this. What is that? And so again, how do you time this? You don't. And so to be able to be a part of a long-term trade, the ETFs definitely add exposure, help out a lot. In terms of small caps, again, this move here is very hard to time, and you're not gonna be able to time it again. This average is probably the worst average in the market right now, because at the end of the day, this is just regional banks in oil, and neither of them are moving compared to those averages. So again, we haven't used this as a benchmark, but it does present opportunity that some of this price action is not very well lined up with the actual holdings within here. So still looking for this. I mean, it's just not easy here. That's for sure. Especially when you have things that are very straightforward. These trades are very straightforward to take. Not that they're easy, again, but take a look at the old big boy list here. That's silly when you look at that. Let's see. Hog continues from yesterday. SeaWorld. EW. We'll see how many points we can get here. Again, these are... Don't want to talk about too many of these moves because they're doing what they're supposed to. again, this is very much within the trend and just not budging. It's just exactly the confirmation that we want and looking for. Definitely what we're looking for, and I don't want to have to do anything. I just want to sit in my position, manage my risk as it comes, and try to figure out the rest of my positions, which is definitely going to be terrible timing. So I definitely need points to continue. And again, we don't really so much care about what's happening right now or today. As long as things aren't falling off the shelf or surprising, then it doesn't matter what happens day to day. So keep that in mind, because again, I just keep talking and talking, but that's because that's what we do here. So, but if we didn't actually have this call, I would probably be at breakfast right now, like hang out with people or something. Like I probably wouldn't actually be so much here. There's obviously some trades I want to be a part of, and so I guess that's a little bit of a lie. But beyond like the trades that I'm trying to get in now, if it's not a must have, we're talking about only about 10% cash or so that I still need to get spent. And at the end of the day, I can just put those onto the positions that I'm already comfortable with, and I really do enjoy for a long-term move. It's because there's something in me that, even though I've shifted my focus, I do want to fucking capture alpha on some of these moves and be able to brag about it, right? Like, every ounce of me right now goes, I can take that trade right there. I can take that right there, and I'm going to be right. I can take this right here, and I'm going to be right, and I'm going to. So that's why I'm here. So, and I mean, I enjoy you guys' company, but, you know, in terms of a trading perspective and where your mentality should be, I'm not focused on so much the prices that are in front of me right this moment, because I know they're going to change and that they don't really matter for the overall. And so again, it's good to look at it through that bias and to realize where we are, which is the exact opposite to where we are like 2 weeks ago, right? Where every single tick matters and we're trying to be perfect. And when you're perfect and you try to chase that and you're so focused, and, you know, I sleep, during those times, I'll sleep like an hour or two a night just napping so I can really be a part of all the action, right? And you do very well here. Extra sleep, man. Extra sleep, naps, power lunches, power breakfasts, right? Get involved, you know, read a little bit more, talk to people a little bit more, and try to get a feel on what exactly is the tone for the next week or so. You want to hear the big boys talk a little bit more. That's definitely helps with forming some. You can always tell by, again, this is where you don't put headlines and shit together and make a story. It's not about stories. It's about, again, about sort of what people think, and what does that, then you break that down and translate to what does that mean for a trade. And that's the hardest part is, again, it's not about so much why people are doing things. It's about how does that translate into a trade? How are they going to buy that then? How are they going to sell that? How are they going to manage that position? Where does the money go? That's the hardest part for people to do, and that they don't fucking understand, is that it's not about these reasons and these things. It's about how does that translate to the fucking price. This is people here selling because of some COVID news. I know that. How do they make the trade? They make the trade frantically. They make it anxiously, and they don't care about the price. When you're anxious about something, you don't care about price, do you? You go, oh, I got to get out of this position, because you're a fucking pussy, right? And that's how we are. We're human. We get scared. We have to get out. And how do you know? Because you can see the price move very quickly. And it has a lot more of a downward move to it, and it's immediate, right? This is the COVID thing right here. And we know when that's different from people trying to take off from their portfolio, when they're just trying to go put money into something else, because they want to get a good price for it. If I'm selling something, think about it. You want to sell something, you're going to try to get the best price for it, right? And you're willing to wait a little bit for it. You don't need the money right this second. This is a little bit more being scared. And that's what I like to buy on. And so I know this doesn't look good, and it's why it's not in my portfolio yet. But I know this is an opportunity. And so I'm going to sit my ass in my chair here, and I don't have to worry about my other positions, right? I'm watching my averages go up. and they're being very well held, and I understand my trend. I look at some of my other positions that I take. I'm like, okay, these are very good trades from supports, and I'm fine with these, right? I take these trades here, and I go, okay, I know I did this right. The same reason was here, right? The selling that occurred here is a very similar dynamic where I know people are not getting the best price. There's something about this that just intuition. Like yesterday, I take those trades. You just know there's something not right. And now again, this can come fucking down here. It doesn't matter. It's just understanding why. When you look at something, understanding what exactly is happening there. It doesn't so much matter. Again, overall, and so we'll see what these line up to, and see if we can get these here. And this is the point right there. Let me see if we can get some better. What is the actual number here? The number is 169.50 and 168.75. So I think the 169.5 right there is the spot. Right there, 169.5. Thank you again, TradingView, for fixing up the data. I'm very grateful. It's very nice to be able to have things line up perfectly on the intraday charts and not have them all fucked up from the daily candles anymore. You can see how they fix it a little bit, how it actually moves it a little bit, so it lines up better. Yeah, those, again, it can break through. But I think we want to be taking those right there. And something tells me that I should be taking the I know it's kind of silly to buy jets, but to be buying the airline ETF over individual airlines, because I think there's going to be things that are news driven that we're not going to be able to figure out. Again, this is the only thing, this is really all that's left in terms of trying to figure out positions. So I love how it's so frantic here, and it's so spooky right there, that there's something about that someone's going to go buy that. I don't even need to make a phone call. Someone's going to buy this here. I don't think it sells here. I could be wrong. I have been wrong before. It's just in such a fucking ominous spot. Again, this is not an important trade, so those of you that have no positions on and you're going, oh, here's my opportunity. Again, fuck off, please. I don't want any DMs about how I fucked up your portfolio. All right, let's go. Here we go. Travel. We're doing it. This is where the money's made, boys. We're going Jets, CCL, Expedia, possibly just AAL as well, because AAL is the largest, so we'll get exposure there. Yep. And again, this is a long-term trade, but I am going to get exposure to the short term, because I have to get paid for this. I would have to get paid immediately, so just a FYI. Yes, I want a long-term trade, but I am going to put some short-term in there. Because what I'm trying to do here is just get a bounce back. See how frantically it's selling in here? I basically want to get this, as I'm getting filled here, I want to get a bounce back immediately. And so let's say this is down 5% right now. I just want to gain 5% like in 2 days and get a 100% trade as well to cover my, think about it. You make a long-term trade, this isn't going to stop being volatile. It's going to be up and down. And so you need to have a basis. You need to have profit here off of the move immediately to be able to pay for that long term. Because if I'm going to hold it for a month, it's going to be up and down 100 fucking times. And so if I already made money on it, I can push through that and feel good about it, right? And not have to be worried about holding it. As long as it's above my price I entered, no problem, right? Because it's going to swing back and forth. These are terrible. It's absolutely terrible that I just took this trade. So, FYI. Not terrible, but you understand the difference between buying something that's going up and going down, right? I'm just fucking built different, right? God, it feels good. This is right on our trend line. This one was a little easier again. This was a little easier. If it goes through, then it goes through and we get stopped out. FYI, right? If it goes lower, um, again, it's not so much about bottom ticking, right? It's not so much about that. Again, it can go lower. That just so if it does reverse here or something, I don't want it to feel bad. All right, so that's that. We'll see how those do. We'll check back in on those. Our positions that are doing well have done. This move here is really cute. This looks like it's bouncing on the support, so it's hard to tell just because again the not perfect data. SQ we continue to do well. Not sure what that's doing. IRM EW continue. Those are very very similar looking moves. TWLO these trades have done very well so far. I'm pretty good about those. PLTR we got the 22.5. I don't know if I take this trade again. Probably not. We got the trade here, and that was it. This was not a long-term trade. This was just technical trade. We got the trade. That was it. So I'm not screwing around with that, FYI. And really, now what we're waiting for is whether or not this semi-move comes through here. In terms of this timing, again, I would hold this for like a week or so on the support. So I don't really have much of a worry there. But I do have some of the individual positions still that I am being a little bit more critical on overall. FUTU continue to sell through. We'll see. We'll see how we do on the travel move. BA and shit like this here, I'm still not exactly sure on. And this is where some of this is difficult because it's not very well. It's very hidden in this average. It's very similar. This is a little different though because this is not so much short-term volatility. So I can go take that travel trade because I know it's volatile. This is the BA trade would be a little different here. It's not the same. It's not the same. So I can't really go buy this in the middle of nowhere. I would need to see something. I would need to get confirmation of some bid here. So again, those are two different things where I can buy something that's just fucking selling down and feel okay about it. And sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you won't. It's better than 50-50, but this here is not because if it's not going bid, it could just keep trending. And not to say that this is not doing that, but it does feel better. Again, we removed the space trade. I don't know if this can even get bought anymore. That was news-based. All right, so we took advantage of the sell side, I think. Enough. RNG, very cute, catching back up to the average. I talked about this a little bit, where some of these trades have been holding the average a little bit, and again, this should be a pretty straightforward move. Catching back up to the average of the trend. It's basically what we expect most of these moves to be doing. And so some of those making the move a little bit quicker, right? Making it a little bit quicker is because it wasn't as volatile to begin with. So looks good. Nice. Let's see how quick we get going here. I really hate this chart a lot. So much about this chart is bad news, but you can get out of there. You can get out of there on net. Same kind of goes with the CrowdStrike move a little bit. I don't really like the price action here, but it's the price action that comes out of here. But this is obviously a lot easier to hold through, but very similar feeling. This Netflix move again, what I've talked about is that once it gets through here, I expect it to make a move. Again, I have the target there. With the NASDAQ at all-time high, I do expect this to catch back up into there, and that move comes very quick. I've talked about how sneaky it is in this in the supply, very difficult trade to make, and a lot of reasoning in here is so different for everybody, and but most of them point to longer term. So I think the Disney move as well is, again, this timing here. There is no timing. The best time was I use this sort of quote from that I said yesterday was the best timing was yesterday. Almost all these charts, that's what I'm trying to go in with a bias, because that's the kind of trading I'm trying to do right now. The best time was yesterday. So, with that in mind, things like Disney here, this price action in here, I think should stand out. That's 2.5% spread. This should really stand out. You're not tightening. We had the tightening here, and this led to upside. And look at the spreads over here. This is very wide, and we had a lot of this going on, and it's been like this. This kind of trading should lead to something more consistent. You should be betting on not more volatility. You should be betting on less volatility and upside, and the upside will get you paid. You'll lose some from the volatility being less, but you'll gain because of the move. This here, it's very similar to the travel trade, which connected to travel. I do want to take this move again. This was on my sort of my tertiary list of things to be adding on. This would be the last this last part of the volatile moves and the things that were at sort of the highs through this diamond idea. Again, I wouldn't be posting a diamond or something for this chart, but this idea here, maybe I would not. We'll see what I would come up with, but the idea here is that this was already at a high, and so it started consolidating, but I want to get a long-term trade, but I was going to put everything else on first because everything else was gaining. These are still just hanging out. I know they're hanging out. I do like the idea of taking a trade here and holding it for the week, even if it doesn't move, with the rest of my cash here. Again, you want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this for the long term, so I don't care if it doesn't make the points immediately. Mega Cap's still ruling the day here. Still ruling. Let's see. Facebook, this is when the average will change up a little bit, when this comes out of its pullback. It's very controlled, which is nice, and because again, it puts so many points on. This move here is probably the most bullish candle we've seen yet out of this downwards move. So, we don't really know what the timing is, but there's definitely an expectation of we're not really exiting this trend. And when you look at some of these, I mean, look at this shit. Like, this should just tell you everything you need to know. This is what it looks like. So they all add up to this chart. That's it. The market is usually right. That's one of the hard things. The market's usually right. What you see is literally what it is. Believe your fucking eyes, right? Like the trial going on right now. You know what the whole thing is it's whether to believe your eyes or not. Believe your eyes. That's all you gotta do. The more you believe your eyes and not your chimp brain and things you make up, the better you'll do. We'll see what this tightening leads to today. Again, we don't care so much about the moves right now, but the tightening, we can still be like, okay, that's going to lead to some move. It's going to lead to something. Doji'd out of our mind over here. In terms of how much I hold through here, let's maybe theorycraft a little bit, right? So we have our trend from the 25th. In terms of how much you hold through, I would be using, we don't have true supports, right? We can actually maybe use some of this idea, some of this support in here. And I like what we've created so far in here, right? What we've created so far. And again, that's a big part of when you're trading through all-time highs, is to create new support. So this sort of level we've created so far, we continue to do it, right? Where the sideways trading leads to new support. And so we've done this multiple times now, right? We did it through here, create support. We've already created support up here as well. And so that's where again you can sort of see this trend continuing, but you can basically as the market does that, let's just act like these are true supports. I wouldn't really. They're local, right? And what you can do is basically you can climb down the ladder and say, okay, I can hold to this next level here. And so then that can remove a lot of stress in terms of, okay, I can let this come all the way down here. And maybe I can give it a week here of timing on trading flat. I have no problem. And you can go from there and let it, again, you should already have these sort of calculations done. But when you look at the market like this, I think, at the end of the day, you have a lot of room to work with here, especially depending, again, on your entry point. On your entry point and how much money you got involved. Uh, I mean, everything is very strong. So we're at the same point on these. We'll see how these do. The Jets' ETF is a little different for sure. Sold a little bit further. See what we get, boys. It'd be cute if we get the timing on that one. For almost no reason at all. PetQ does. IRM continues here. Again, some of the REITs, you're not going to get timing right on these at all. Who knows what the timing is? Who knows? Let's see some of our other charts here. Can't really take Z yet. Some of these charts that are at the break-even point are definitely interesting. Wendy's continues. Pepsi continues. That's definitely a long trade to be a part of. TSN continues on that trend. Retail stores are still up in the air in terms of some of them, again, the ones that have continued to trend you can be a part of, but these other ones that are trading flat, again, demand is going elsewhere. Good reasons. Okay, we'll see again what these moves turn into. They have quite a bit of local support, so but we are definitely watching. We're watching growth a lot more closely than anything else. The only thing that can really make a move quickly. We'll see if K gets through this resistance again. We got through it yesterday, and this is definitely not. These moves are so slow that they just sneak through, and it's like week to week you see price move. Can't really see it during the day. We'll see what that does. BRKB. Now this is an interesting one as well. It's like this chart I can hold through. Let me remove this tag thing here. This trade here, I mean, it can hold through almost a week of doing nothing, and almost, I mean, you could almost have it come down another percent or so, and you're not losing much value. And so, these type of trades are definitely uh, the life of the life of some of this idea. That's for sure. Oh, it's so funny how it's just the mega caps are just so strong. They're just too damn strong. Everything should just be catching up to those averages. That's for sure. SBS. Are we gonna get the move in here? It's definitely an interesting chart I have here on this. A little bit more economic space, but what we like. We're doing okay on the shot move still. thing here to remind yourself is that there's nothing coming. So there's, there's nothing that's gonna come in here. So I think some people are still waiting for something interesting to happen. Nothing probably interesting that's gonna happen at all for quite some time. So I would say that the most interesting thing so far is travel selling. That was it. Probably the most interesting thing we're gonna get. We'll see how we do here. This is probably the most interesting and volatile thing we're going to get. Um, Mega caps, it's those are like the things that you're would need to move for anything to change. And even when you see things like look at the Amazon chart here. Even this thing that we got yesterday, and like there's just something about it that there's just nothing happening. And again, it's because nothing is really supposed to happen or is going to really happen here. And this is where look at the intraday candles. Like Facebook's the thing that's been going down, but there's not like this. This is the selling. It doesn't even really look like it on the intraday. You can't even tell. It's almost impossible to tell. You actually can't even tell if this is selling or not. If I removed the prices here, you would actually have no idea if this is selling or not. And it's so funny to look at that. It's actually just selling on a trend here, but it's very controlled. But everything we just looked at was selling. Like it's hard to. You can't sit here and watch price. It's interesting. You actually have to really zoom out the frame and look at things from a further perspective, which is exactly why we've kind of changed the view when we're looking at things here. But with that in mind, that also means that you don't really get big moves coming through, and it can be a little difficult. Wait, did I turn off earnings? Let's see. Everyone likes earnings, and that's interesting. What do we got here? When do we get some of these numbers? Tech is end of April. When do we get? This is May. Well, things like semis here. Things like shop. Okay, end of April. It's all our big tech. Again, these earnings mean almost nothing. Just volume. I mean, I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's really interesting to think about that. If I see any dumb articles, then we can just make fun of people all week, which for me we do already. But we get to basically make fun of everyone that's trying to guess about earnings for no reason, and they don't even know it yet, and they don't even know that they're gonna do it, but they're gonna do it. They may not even they may not even know what they're gonna do, but we know what they're gonna do before they do it, and then we can make fun of them. When are the SPY earnings? SPY earnings come. SPY earnings are in May. But why do you look at this? Why do you look at the SPY chart? What is the SPY chart? Why don't you look at the S&P? Why don't you look at the S&P? It's at 4,151. What do you mean the SPY's at 413 going to 414? What do you mean? What does that even mean? I don't understand. Well, we don't trade index futures, so find my little friend. You could trade index futures, but I don't think you have the money to do that. It's like people that sit and watch e-minis. It's like, yeah, I'll go watch this when the market's not open. But you can't afford this. Even the e-minis. What, you have $100 grand to make on every trade? Literally, that's how much it costs. 100,000 to make a fucking one trade. You're gonna do that? No. I'm gonna look at that. I'll look at this one. I'll look at this one. I could buy this one. How we doing on this side? Do we have any moves on like VX or anything? See, I told you. I told you. I showed you that article. Uvixi, see? See? Anybody see this? Look at this bad boy. Can I open this up? Oh yeah, I can. See? If you guys take a look here, who is this? This is Dark Pool Trading. So, Dark Pool Trading here, hitting us up big with, the Uvixi Entropy, Gravity, and Light. So basically, attached to some fundamental analysis. Now, the thing to remember here, now don't laugh. Everybody knows that volatility is a fundamental metric. It's very fundamental. The earnings are the only thing that matters on the Uvixi. Uvixi earnings are always volatile because big fundamental reasons. We don't expect Uvixi to reach $1 before the reversal of the greater trend. I'm guessing that. I mean, it's listen. I know it's kind of. I can't even zoom in here. Jesus, he really could have got us a little bit closer because I can't actually see the fucking price bars. Mind you, I have a 43-inch fucking monitor and I can't even see the candles in here, but they're right here. Okay, let's see. He's got some waves in here as well. If you didn't notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why would volatility enter an increasing trend? We expect global economic contraction before stagflation, then finally deflation. Wow, those are a lot of big words. Okay, let's talk a little bit about contraction before stagflation, and then finally deflation. First of all, it's really interesting that this is the order we have, that he said this is before this, then this is after that. It's almost kind of like that doesn't really make sense at all. Okay, but that's fine. I'm just going to remove that one because that actually doesn't work because we're actually entering inflation. So, yeah, deflation would, I guess, yeah, okay. Let's see. Oh, gee, okay, here we go. This is Andrew's perspective. Okay, here's Andrew's perspective. Price has already left the downward logarithmic channel and has an 80% statistical probability. Holy shit, we even have a real number here. To revisit the median line. That's from 3 to 4. So this one to this one. Okay. If price returns to the median line of the upward channel created by the assumed Elliott wave 1 high. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay, what do we get down here? We have an entropic breakout public idea. Black body alignment is nearly upon us. Fuck me. Oh God, they're actually going physics on the VIX. They're literally going full physics. They must be physics undergrad students. That's what they are. They're undergrad physics students. Oh boy. That makes much more sense from like the space idea. They're physics majors. What the fuck is this? Where does this start? Look at where they started all the lines. The middle of nowhere. They started the lines on the Uvixi chart at, what is that? They started the lines on the Uvixi chart at, what the fuck is that? At 3,653,592,000, or is it 36,535,929? That's where Uvixi started. It's at fucking 4. It's at 4. That's how many thousands of percent is that out? Look at their cosine wave. It doesn't even line up. It doesn't even make sense. This is where Uvixi started. It didn't even do anything. That's your competition, boys. That's your competition. And you think my ideas are fucking wild. Oh, that makes me just feel so good. Ugh. I feel like I just watched the ending of Interstellar, says Mobsky. Yeah, honestly. Yeah. It's so interesting because I, there is like I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie Pi. It's about this guy that he's like a mathematician and he's trying to look for one number that explains. It's sort of like the idea of like a Fibonacci sequence and like a something that is you can see in nature and in mathematics and things like that. And this movie called Pi, and he's trying to look for a number uh, to basically solve the stock market and like a sequence of numbers that will somehow solve the stock market so that he can always like be perfect something, right? And he goes insane and kills himself basically. But there's always this idea that you can find through something other than the thing itself a way to solve it, right? And we can somehow use religion to solve our lives, or we can use uh some sort of biology to solve something mechanical. Like these different ideas, and I think it's a cool abstract idea. I do. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is what we've got. And that's why I've been like that before, and I still do shit like that. Like, I think that it's always interesting when you can find correlation in things that are not truly correlated, but somehow work, right? But at the end of the day, if I can just draw some fucking lines on a chart, because that's quite literally what we're looking at, and that's the thing, right? That's quite literally the thing. This is how you're just using price because that's the only thing we have. You don't need to find something else, right? And that's what I always find so ironic about prices is that you don't actually have to go anywhere else other than price. You actually don't need anything else. And that's what's so you waste so much time looking beyond what's in front of you. And it's such a weird concept to continue to do and to fail at. And I think people fail in this. The more they fail, the more they look for shortcuts and reasons beyond what's in front of them. When all you have to do is look at the price and put it together, and you'll have an idea, and that's it. It's so weird. You can just see trends and see the price action. That's it. Oh, it's low. Oh, I can buy it. If it's high, it's high. And you put it together. That's it. And you don't need these weird concepts and things to understand it, right? You don't have to go. That's why, like I made the jokes before of like some of the Fibonacci ideas and things. It's like, okay, those are I can use you can I can understand those for analysis and trying to find like the next support level or something. But why don't you just do it? Why do you have to do shit like this and try to you're gonna look at the price anyway to line that shit up. Might as well just look at the prices and not waste your time. Because I mean, maybe there is a number that JJR says 42. I mean, yeah, maybe 42 somehow will solve the universe. But yeah, it's probably not gonna happen. It's probably not gonna happen. And what's funny is like that what we just looked at there, they'll never be able to use that again. There's nothing with whatever the fuck that was and how it started like hundreds of thousands of percent higher. And doesn't even make sense where they started the number. They just made it up. you'll never see them do that again. They'll come up with some other weird idea again, right? And it's all about consistency and discipline, right? That's it. And that's one of the funniest when you look at the wealthiest people in the world, and rich people, like, yeah, you have like entrepreneurs, but those people that, like, I'm talking about, like, not people that got like lucky or invented something. If you just look at people that work hard and do these things, it's about being consistent. And just, you have a system that you keep working through, and just make up shit every day. Some That's some weird stuff, my friends. But Don, give us the. Can't we just trade with the RSI? Can't we just put this bad boy on the 5 minute, load up the old indicator here, and put the old RSI on here, and look at, when it goes up, I sell. When it goes down, I buy it. Or when it goes down here, I sell it. And when it comes back up over here, I buy it. Or if it goes up, I'd sell it. I don't know which is which, but it's something like that. In hindsight, of course. Oh, it went up here, sell it. Obviously. Oh, it went down here, buy it. Except it doesn't do that when you're watching it live. Watch. If we try to do this live right now, how are we going to day trade this? How the fuck do you day trade this here? Tell me. You don't. But look at, if you start to widen it, you have a little bit more options. Look, this got pretty high here, so you had to sell. But unfortunately, that was a gap down. 30 basis point. Day to day. Okay, that doesn't help. Fuck me. Unbelievable. Get out of here. This should basically tell us we're oversold. So basically the market should sell off right here. Look at the last time that happened. Look how many, that was September. The last time this happened was September, and we sold for a month, guys. Based on the RSI and based on the YouTube videos I've seen, we're going to crash. But, it's funny because if I remember correctly, correct. The RSI was actually up here. Back it was over here, March. It was up above here. How funny is it that it's no longer above there? Really makes you think how averages can change and how they're lagging and how these are here. I wonder if in a week from now we look back and they're here still. Would really make you wonder if this average changes because of the new candles that come in here and the new price points that change the average. If this all of a sudden, this over here starts to drop down here, this drops down here. Fuck. It's almost like how Elliot's wave change every fucking day. And they still use them. Unbelievable. When it works though. Am I right? Oh god, I bet this one's even worse. This is probably, I haven't looked at this. Oh, well, see, no, this is fine. This is very bullish. This is very bullish, actually, based on the RSI. This hasn't even, look at this shit. This should almost solidify it. It should almost solidify it, I would say. It's just the price movement. It's just the price movement. It's literally just the price candles. Again. Wow. Who would have thought that something that adds up the last 10 days of candles into a straight line would look the same as the price candles and not be helpful? It's kind of on an analysis level. Absolutely. And I use that type of shit for analysis. Yeah. Or like let me show you some interesting things. Use things like no shirt thing I've talked about. And I found these ideas very interesting. And so you can't use this for trading though. You can't sit here and trade and try to make decisions. But what you can do is take a look at, this is interesting. And I think it's something, again, where math can help with abstract a little bit. It's not like always correct or something. But if you take a look, think about taking this trade on the 25th, right? And now, if you were actually looking at this, you would see the crossing of the average to the signal line here. And this happened on the 19th here. And this over here is also a very interesting day that we started the second sort of bottoming move here. It continued to consolidate here, but this actually started to widen in between these. And again, if you don't know what this calculation is here, let me tell you about this little fancy thing I got, this education section on the left side of your Discord. If you go over to the oscillator section, you'll see the KSTs. This would over here be an intermediate. That's in the trading view. It would be an intermediate KST. It's sort of a in between of the long and short that I have in there. But if you look at the short KST, got a little PDF in there. It tells you about the numbers a little bit. But this is interesting, where if you come into here and you think about how I was able to buy in here off of some understanding that we're coming through here, this actually backs it up pretty well. And it's lagging, right? Just like over here, it lagged the downward move, right? This line crossed and it lagged it. And that's where this is early, but it does signify tightening. And that's what we look for, and it will show it before it actually happens. It shows it after it happens on the sell side, which is why you can't use it for trading. But you could use it on a low side and say, if we're in a consolidation and I want to know how tight is the average here. How tight are we actually getting? Because when you look at this chart here, it is kind of difficult to say how much we're tightening in here, right? The candles were so volatile already to begin with, right? But then you look at this average here and you can say, okay, on the 19th, this is actually the point at which we get into, again, we can look at the support and say it's on support anyway, but this is kind of what it's signifying is it's coming out of this zone. And so, I can use some analysis like this and back up my ideas that I have, right? Where on the days over here, I'm looking to get aggressive. I can go into something like this and say, you know what? I do have some confirmation here on a more mathematical level, on an average level, and it's not just my eyes of I see tightening occurring, and I think a break will happen. It's I can actually go look at something like this, and you'll get it, right? But again, there's a big difference. You go look back at like COVID here. There's a big difference here of using it to make a trade or not, right? Look at the price action over here. This was when we started to get bullish, and it crossed over again, which should tell you to sell, right? And so this is kind of how just believe the fucking price in front of you. You don't need to use something like this. Just look at it. It's trending up, right? And this is lying to you. But over here, it is a little bit more. This is where there's different times when you can use these things and not. This is a better time because of the consolidation factor where you're in a consolidation and you can go, okay, I know I'm in a consolidation. That's what this idea is here. It's not that price is just going down. And you can find shit like that. But again, people make up so many dumb fucking things that at this point, who knows? Right? It's just, again, you're just using averages, and the whole moving average thing, I think, is an important thing to really remove from active trading. Is a lot of people will use those moving averages. You can use them for analysis if you're not able to like see it. Like I can just see the averages. You shouldn't use them as support and stuff, and I think that's one of the hardest things to get rid of when you try to use some technical ideas. Be like, yeah, I'm a technical trader, and that's like, well, yeah, I don't use any averages, by the way. Just look at the price. Some of that is difficult. It is hard to I don't know, to remove this idea, I guess. And yeah, I guess that's not a good way. Got it. It's just so lagged. It's so lagging. And like this okay, it crossed the moving average, so the price is gonna come down here. It's like, well, price doesn't stop for the moving average, so hard to say. Hard to say. Because one day it'll be below, one day it's above. So it's like, oh, so what are you supposed to do? You don't do anything. RNG is continuing again. We're looking at this. See how quickly it gets back up there. At least have slowed down a little. If we look at our coveted travel, we're still at the same spot here. Still at the same spot. My stop is below 20 on this. That would be about 50 basis points. The old half a percenter. These are still at the same level. See, again, like this a little bit more. Save chart's a little bit better. Again, the earnings is going to be, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but again, it's already, I mean, maybe some of the pricing is coming from some of the earnings on airlines, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's as silly as some of these other earnings that we are in the middle of a pandemic and it could be good or bad depending on how you fucking feel about things. So, is it better than last quarter? Is that what matters? It's going to be better than last quarter. So, like, what? It doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, people care about where it's going to be a year from now. This is beyond helpful. Look at this price action. Nothing to really see in there. The only thing you can see is this price move on the S&P here. The only signifying sort of thing here. But this is where the support is, so that should be interesting. The Dow's got the same move here, coming to this level. About as interesting as we're going to get today. I guess it would be interesting if we could get some sort of confirmation of if it is our 2-day candle pullback. Usually when we get the big trend into the 2-day pullback, it doesn't look like this though. They're actually wider bodied candles. This is barely any price action. When you get the 2 daily candles, you'll get something like this where it's actually price actually moves, does something. This is nothing. D6 less than 1% still. Less than 1% on the Dow. We're less than 1% from the all-time high, boys. Oh god. Get out your bubble. Get out your bubble memes. Get out your crash memes. Okay. Let's see. Risk reward of taking a Baba trade here or waiting for tomorrow. This chart is still very interesting. See what we can find in here. Let's see. Let's look at the Hang Seng Baba. So look at the difference between. Okay, hold on a second. What do we got going on here? This is the Baba on the Hang Seng. So wait, hold on. How many candles are getting? We're missing quite a bit of candles because the vacation. So yeah, we missed from April 1st to April 7th. April 1st to April 7th, and so we have extra candles in here, and we have 2 extra price days. So we're 2 days out. This was a nice trade. The risk is a gap down. The risk is the gap down, which I don't know how much. That would almost be all of it. Oh, it's actually not that much. It's actually not that much. The risk would be the gap down coming to earnings. But if we were able to get a few points in here, that would probably make enough to cover it. Based on the price action that we see here, though, is that close? At close. Came back up at close. Oh, yeah. Okay. We got to do it. Long-term traded up to the trend line. It's 15%. This happened in 1 week. That was before earnings as well. Fuck. Something sneaky about this chart, though. Where are we on the other Chinese place? See this selling here? This is what I mean by sneaky. What is this? Oops. And obviously, we've talked about this chart just continue to sell down. Something sneaky going on. What is this? What is that selling? Is there Chinese news I'm not looking at right now? Take a look. What am I missing? Obviously, earnings and shit's going on right now, but these don't specifically have. Obviously, earnings adds volatility, so we're going into earnings, and so things can definitely get a little spicy going into earnings. But this price action is way too much. It doesn't equal what we saw. I don't see anything. Fuck, this is the trade still that I think offers so much, because there's like all the US and China tensions I think are so sort of overdone. Fuck, the BABA chart's it's not moving though. All the others are selling and this is just sitting here. It's just sitting there. Fuck. It's starting. MCHI is starting to sell now. Okay, I'm gonna give Baba a little bit of time here. I'm gonna give all these a little bit of time, but so many different. They're all over the place. Shit. I think this price action's the one that has the most error. Probably has the most error, and that offers the most opportunity. Really does. This type of stuff in here. Price action, not stuff. Kind of price action. Basically, all it needs to move is Tencent and Baba. Those are the big boys. They're the only things that matter. Being patient. Being patient. But I get that tingling sensation, intuition going off. It's too much. Too much. I just don't know what to make for a trade here. I want to trade it between these levels, but how much? How quick? This is not breaking this level, by the way. This has been, let me put this into perspective a little bit. It's you know, a significant amount of volume just sitting in this area. This is not loading yet because it's the new trading view of volume, but it's just sitting here, not moving. If this is the lowest point and this is all fucked up, we just buy everything. We buy it all. I think we have. Let's see. I can keep I'll keep this stuff. I was gonna see if maybe I just put this whole 10% on this. This would be an insane move. I'm gonna go put like, fuck. I'm gonna go put like 5% on this. And I think I can do it with what I was considering. Thing is that so EWH is what tracks the Hong Kong, and you can see how different this is over here. And this is sort of like some of the shit I mean, that when you look at the rest of Asia and when you look at the actual the iShares ETFs, it's just fucking completely different. So EWH is Hong Kong, and then watch me switch over to the Hang Seng. It's again, this is the actual index. But when you look at the ETF, because of the way the liquidity works, right? The way the liquidity works, you actually you see the move happen in between, like the in between moves. And so this is where when you look at Baba here, this, and then I go over 9988. That's the ticker name on HSI. Okay. And then so this is okay, interesting. Again, we captured the move here. It was nice. Got off the low. And then you go look at Tencent. Tencent is the biggest company. And you look at this, and there's nothing. And nothing. It's tight. It's significant tightening, and we expect upside moves. We don't expect downside. There's little downside pressure on Tencent, which is the only thing. Again, we're talking. Look at this market cap. I don't know if you guys can see that number. That's 6 trillion. That's 6 trillion. Yeah, it's a big boy. Baba is the other big boy. We're doing it, boys. This is a big trade, FYI. This is a lot of money. I feel pretty confident about this, enough to take a risk. And my downside is I become a long-term investor if it gaps down to here. That's 3%. I'll lose about 30. I'll lose about 30%. Good luck. These are the big boy decisions. Again, the reason why I do this is that I got 90% of my money's in long term right now. So my portfolio is really, I feel very strong and in a good spot. And so I have another 5% on those travel moves and some of the other growth moves that we just put on. And so this other 5, and then we're talking equities, and then my other 5% is now going into this trade here. So again, I'm very set for long-term trade, long-term trends and capturing all that. So we're not talking about that much percent-wise. And then, so those are equities. Again, 10% of my overall money is on Bitcoin, 90% is equities, and then 90% of those equities are in the long-term trades already. 5% is now within the short-term vol and growth moves, and then this 5% is going to go on this China trade. See how this does. So that's where we're at. This is going to be short-term and longer-term. I'm going to have gradient from 1 month, 3 months, from this point to a little bit out of the money. I mean, 240 or so. This is going to be I mean, this is 100% from here up to just 240s almost. If this happened immediately, that's a lot of points. If you get up to here, this would be 100% here. That'd be 100%. And the difference here, so again, the difference between making 100% on like a small trade and then 100% on this amount of money is two different things. And this is where, so to put into perspective, the reason why I'd want to take more of a chance here is I can get filled on a lot more money comparatively to like that travel trade. I can't go get filled on 5% of my portfolio on fucking travel. It's not going to happen, right? But I get filled on this because of the size. So that's the difference, is that 100% on this size compared to 100% on like fucking the death boat, right? Those are two different things, completely different. Talking about two different lots of money, right? Completely different. And that should be the same for a lot of you. It's like some of your trades, yeah, you'll make 100% on a trade, but you just made like $2,000. That it doesn't really matter at the, I mean, it matters, but I mean, you need a lot of those trades. This is one trade. A little spicier. We'll see if this, I mean, it's holding here. I don't know if my timing is great here. And I might be early. I have a worry about waiting until tomorrow. That's my thing. I have a little this again. I did this yesterday too, and I've been doing it since like a week or so ago. I had this worry of waiting. So let's see. One thing. So if here's the scenario, right? Is we hold here. If it sells down, then I'll buy at the other support. Do the same thing, but I would probably make it bigger. Because quantity's larger. So if it does come down to here again, this is only 3%. If it does what these other tickers are doing, then I'm getting filled down here. So FYI. I mean I'm in the bids right now. So because look at these, like JD's 2.5. Baba did not move. So I'm already getting filled. So worst case scenario, I buy lower. So just to put into perspective, because I mean it could certainly sell all the way down here, and I'll still buy it down there. So this is just the best case scenarios. If we get this, I think there's a big difference between where this is here and where these charts are. It's very different. It's very different, and I think it should make it. This is just the hangs. These are just following. These are following, and I don't know what this shit is here, and so I don't want to play these because I don't know. I don't really understand. But I can look at these charts on the Hang Seng and go, okay, Tencent is it's been bearish, but it's strong here, so not much to worry about. And then Baba over here on the Hang Seng, I like this one. I like that price action there. That's fearful, and also at the same time, you're in the middle of nowhere, and so no one really knows. But over on this side, I can say, okay, get after it. See if I can get some people that are not in the call to go buy my calls, just in case. Where's LSU? He'll buy those. He only buys shares, but he'll drive up the underlying. Also, here's also another weird thing is we're going into earnings, and I think you get some gamma moves in here as well. So I have a little bit of confidence on some. I'm not myself, but on some gamma moves happening here on the option side. There hasn't been many options. There hasn't been many, and so if this does pick up here, like it picked up over here, and then we get a big gap day. These things line up. I like it. Some different kind of ideas here. Wasn't expecting to make. I mean, we've been talking about the last few days, but I wasn't specifically looking to make that today. But it's done. Just happened. Okay. Still sitting on our supports. This is our pullback. And we're definitely a part of the trend still. Again, it's quite a bit of points, but that's why we're on the long-term side. Again, short terms we would have been out of it, right? If we let's put it into the lens of trading through short term. If again we took the swing, if we took the swing from in here and then we took another swing here, we would have exited on this candle here. So again, if we were in short-term trades, these two daily candles would add up to us exiting. We would have saw the candle yesterday. We would have saw the doji here. Dojis usually mean a change of like a reversal. The next candle is probably going to reverse its course, so you get the sell candle here. You would hold through here and see the bid come in at close and feel okay. And then the today, again, if we're in a short-term trade, you would see the action start here. And as soon as it starts to sell down through probably in here, we would have probably taken profit on your short term. I don't know. It's really through here that I was looking at it. So if it was in here, then I would start to take profit on short terms. Yeah, I would have on short terms exited here. But since we're in longer terms, I just don't really care. So other than to build obviously an idea of tempo and where the price is going to be in a week from now and things like that. I care. But it's just coming in again, coming to our support here, which I like a lot. I really think this is a really nice spot that we've sort of created in here. I don't really want to keep this in here because, again, this is where it is, and then it comes down into it because it signifies kind of the wrong idea. I'm not saying to, like, I'm not saying this is like a spot to buy on or something. I don't think that's the same mentality because we're not specifically looking to buy through this average here. It's just confirming. It's confirming our ideas, and yeah, like look at Apple on the growth side. When you see these moves again, it's the same move as yesterday, and you want this for a long-term trade to create this bit of pressure to sell and then come into the support and hold it again. The more times you do it, the stronger it's going to be, right? Again, this sells into here and then it comes off that low, and so we don't really know, but I would definitely say it's still not producing a level of selling yet. Not yet. Spicy. Very spicy. Now, these are probably going to change here. These are very close. These travel moves I took a little earlier were very much in like a raw spot here. I mean, we're right there, but it's an interesting spot. We're at 11 o'clock, so we're heading into lunch at a low. Now what are we getting? Are we getting a pullback lunch or melt up lunch? It doesn't really matter for us in terms of long terms. It matters for these positions that we just took at lows, though. Definitely makes things interesting in terms of managing those trades, because it begs the question. My question here would be, okay, I'm trying to take these travel trades at a low point, and I know the timing's not perfect. And so where I took them, if the market continues to pull back just a little bit more and I get stopped out, where do I re-enter and how do I re-enter them? Or should I just remove the stop? And put the stop low. Like, should my stop just be lower? And I already have I have it lower anyway, so I'm not getting stopped out from this, for instance. But some of you might get into that if you took that trade, because what you don't want to do is sell at a low and then buy it again and then have the same thing occur again. It has to be, you have to have it be a little bit more, it's got to be sharper and be like, okay, that's it. I'm not doing it again. So I think mine would probably be, if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen, right? If I get stopped out lower, then I'll be out of the trade. And these are, at least this type of stuff is signaling that I'm good. I'm good right here. If it goes lower, then okay, happens. We knew the timing was not going to happen very well. But again, if it goes lower, then it's a whole different. Think about it. If this chart goes lower, we bought it right here at the low. If this goes lower, then there's something entirely different going on here, right? And unless we can get the buy that we got here, which it shouldn't happen again. And I talked about that with the AL. This shouldn't happen again because we bought this so confidently and so easily. It should not happen again. There should not be this kind of move here. It would have to come down. It would have to come down. That's just the end of the road. I know earnings are tomorrow, but you don't get this again. You don't get this again. That was just a dumb trade that, you think about it. Yeah, that shouldn't happen again. It shouldn't happen again. It should be a little bit longer. I've been. Sometimes it happens. There's some interesting folks out there that are buying again. We looked at. Look at this. You start to. You get into some interesting ideas. FYI, crude's been selling. And so here's what we'll look for at close again. I didn't want to bring these up too much because we have money entering the bond market, but has changed so much intraday recently that it almost, to say that people are buying bonds right now is almost silly. So because that's how markets work. So we flow back and forth, and we can already signify it with the dollar anyway. We can see it. I like these candles in here actually. At least we know the auctions are going well and that people are buying bonds. That's such a weird thing that we have to worry about now all the time, which maybe we kind of have left it since over here, but it's silly that in the equity market we have to wonder if bonds are going to be bought or not. Kind of a silly concept. Yeah, I like this. I like this area down here. Interesting. Let me turn this bad boy green. This move down here. This is what I'm talking about for buying. For the energy side, that's what I'm talking about for buying. And again, it's because this is not going to be perfect timing, and it doesn't need to go off immediately. So that's that trade's getting placed for that. I mean, it's probably best to use, but it's definitely possible. CVX, it might be. See, I don't know though, because there's so many weird things that could happen. But CVX, I'm gonna use CVX here because it's within the Dow play as well. I'm gonna use CVX for my energy play here. So just putting some points on CVX here. Again, long term, very long term. So 3-monther. I'm gonna put that on. I'll use that instead of XLE. It is a little bit. There's a little bit more risk getting added there because it's an individual ticker, and I like that a little bit more for reward. Also, you get the earnings factor. I don't want to shy away from earnings. I don't care so much about what the earnings are or what the price action could or could not be, whatever it is. But I do want the extra added volatility. And I think that's one thing that ETFs do not give you is the volatility factor. And I have a hard time trading those options. I just don't. I don't trade ETFs as well. I don't think anyone does because it's, again, you're trading a larger exposure, but at the same time it's less sensitive at the same time. So you're not getting a an IV that is the result of actual volatility changing. You're just kind of just averaged, and I don't so much want that right now. There's plenty of ETFs that we're using that it's more helpful because you're not getting hurt on the downside. But for these things that I'm buying at lows, I'm not thinking about the downside. I'm not thinking about having to hold through a pullback here. I'm buying at the low. If it goes lower, I'm getting stopped out. So the difference between buying at a low and buying something on a trend is that in the trend, I'm trying to have a position that I can hold through downswings. I can't hold through a downswing here. This is going one way or I'm not in it, right? Like the Baba trade. This here, I'm either going this way or I'm not going in it at all, right? So I don't care about being, I don't care about any of the pullback ideas because if it pulls back, I'm not in the trade. So that might be something to think about a little bit for some of these ideas. Same with travel, right? Travel is one way or no way. I do love that I bought this in the middle of fucking nowhere. So again, this is the job. It's the job. Fucking IBM. Now we're doing great. I love the J&J move here. Again, this trade from over here. I know some of these, it's hard to keep up with all the different things we do, but we took this trade over here. And I think, again, why do we do this? This was the news that J&J had blood clots, and I said, what the fuck is the point of selling that? It makes no sense, and so we buy it. Taking some more abstract views like that have nothing to do with some of the other things that we really try to like crunch the numbers and look at trend lines, levels. Sometimes it's just bad people making mistakes, and and we capitalize, right? This kind of trade here, it at the end of the day, it's kind of it does feel like a silly trade. It does feel silly, but what can you do? PG really wants to get through there, but we still haven't got through. Oh, I mean, it's hard because I can't. It's hard to get the actual. I do think this is rounded in here. In trying to get exactly where this trend line is, it's fucking difficult. Is this so? If this is that's the trend line right there. If you put it on the long term, these wicks are here. And if I could just extend this, like, oh, oh my god, that's life changing. Oh my god. Oh, holy moly. Wow. Okay, they added that. That wasn't in there before. Okay, hold on. Wow. Okay, shit. Okay, hold on. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my god, look at that. That's exactly what we're looking for. Look at these. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Look at those wicks. This rounded. Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. I like that. Okay. And the reason why I did that was because, or the reason why I have the two different lines here to show, I talked about it a little bit here. This is actually a little bit. Let me curve this with the rest. Where did I have this in here? I had it right with these, this through here. This line is a little bit wonky because it doesn't line up perfectly. Anyway, I wanted it to line up there. It's fine. But the reason being is that, again, this is really where it is, but you can't make a perfect curve. And again, I just fucked up the whole line there, but let me see if I can fix my line. Should be parallel, but either way, is again, this is where all the support is, but it isn't on a straight line, right? And so, again, this is where people just draw like a random line and say, oh yeah, here's a rounded bottom, but it should be a real trend line. It's a real trend line that comes through here. Again, I want to show it because it's through this area that I'm talking about. It's not specifically this longer period, but this is actually where it comes through here. And it's just too sharp in this area it would look like a weird pot, right? It would look like a pot, basically. A pot with a handle, right? Cup and handle. Oh, that's what it's called. And so, anyway, those do line up right here. That's 131, 131. Okay. These do line up through here. This is, again, I sort of made it so it did line up here, but it was pretty fucking close. It was right underneath it at 133 something. So we have a little bit of time to push through here. A little bit of time to push through here. This is a very big candle. Just wondering, because I want to... I'm waiting for this trade here. I think there's a lot of points on this trade right there. Nike, well, who knows when? Who knows when? Who knows? Definitely interesting. Really interesting. This is what we play the game for. This is what we play for. Some of those retail stores not doing anything still. Oh, what I wanted to look at coin and its relation. It broke to here. So it didn't take the upside, but we did have a downwards day on the market, which doesn't help with any understanding there, that's for sure. I'm still up. See, this is starting to sell here. That's what I'm looking at. That's what it is. We'll see how this lines up with my squaring position. Job this sold through. I got stopped out earlier. But again, we're looking. Again, these growth trades, these are already prepared for stops on most of these. These brand new positions. What I'm talking about. Brand new positions. But some of these, again, we're still above. So this is where these are the trades that I'll take again and again. Comparatively to like the short-term volatility of travel and those things, those I don't take again. They'll be on the other side of it, right? They'll be on the break side. These trades are a little different where I can keep taking these trades after I get stopped. Their growth. Oh, it's gonna be fun. It'll be fun. We're betting on it to be different, baby. We're betting on it to be different. This is it. That's all there is for the pullback. There's no more, and we keep trending. This is where the marbles come in. No corrections. No corrections. We bet on corrections 5 months ago. New world order over here. Looking pretty good, to be honest with you. The only thing I'm really looking at are if those mega caps start to change on the liquidity side. That can carry over to this onto the smaller tickers. That can cause the price moves to get a little bit more violent, and there's nothing that any of us can do to change how people behave, right? And so as long as things don't get moving quickly, there won't be any of that psychological factor of feeling like you need to do something. And that's kind of what I'm betting on, is that institutions will hold across the line and won't do anything that causes that panic idea. And there shouldn't be. Again, we're 1% away from the all-time high. There shouldn't be that weird feeling anyway. But people do it because this is what people look at. I know this is what you guys look at. You guys are looking at this right now. Just these candles here. I'm going to keep the screen like right here. All you're looking at is that there's all this room to come down from here. And you just see that there's this low and this high. And there's all this space to come down. And that's all you see, is that there's a lot of ways that this, fails, right? And that's entirely, that's true. But this shouldn't feel like a cliff. It shouldn't feel like that there's like this, and then it's it, and you can come down through here, right? That's not what this area in here. It shouldn't be like the dying zone, right? This shouldn't be how it is. But it feels like it, that you're falling off a cliff. This is skydiving right here. You took a plane up and now you're skydiving. And people get that gut feeling, but that's not at all what it is. So let's see what we get. Again, because it should be more connected. It should be connected in this way. We have support here, and we have a trend line. Okay. This is where you have to tilt your head. The hardest part is to realize you have to tilt your goddamn head. I wish I could tilt the screen. If you tilt this so it's flat, the trend line is flat. That's really the way, and honestly, the way you should look at price. Is this trend line in here? That's the trend line that price naturally moves on. You should turn your head so that that's flat. And if you just look at this as this line is flat, and that's like the horizontal line, it will change your perspective of how you're trading. It should really, that's really how you should actually look at price. Be honest with you. That's why I always say tilt your head. Tilt your head. Tilt it. Just tilt it a little bit more. The other way. The other way. All right, we're right back into what was the expected trend on the Nasdaq here, which I don't know if I like or not, but that's what we kind of wanted, so definitely can't complain. Dale kept selling, that stopped out. Oh, people not betting. People realizing that CGC is a Canadian company. Oh no, not a Canada, Canada. Some of these moves continuing are interesting because the COVID winner move like this on Etsy is really interesting. I think the snap move is fine and natural. Again, the EV side is fucking difficult. Tesla we're fine on, which is really quite something that this has not moved. That's a nice trade down here at this still holding here. It's going to be interesting to see. The thing I'm looking at very interesting to see is that the average is likely not going to move. Like we have 1% here, right? Which again is a part of this trend here. You're going to get these price moves. But a lot of this translates to very different price action across the tickers. And that's where we've seen it already on the upside. And we've seen it, the very different move between the mega caps. And so these are finally getting a move that's out of this trend here, right? The first real true pullback candle here. But this move is very different compared to the other tickers here, right? And it affects the average the most. And so that's where a lot of these are not easy reads in terms of, again, I'm holding through all of these on long term, so not to put like anxiousness into the air. But in terms of, again, I'm trying to time my other growth tickers. And so you have to time it based on the positions you're already in. And that makes it difficult. Or when you look at these, it's like, okay, I take this trade. Okay, then it gets stopped out. It doesn't work. So when do you take these kind of trades here again? And that's where I'm, just like we bought earlier at lows, this is where these trades, you're trying to build this last portion for a long term. It's not clear. Not clear. But I don't so much want to sit around and wait. That's kind of what I'm trying to keep that mentality strong. Don't want to sit and wait. But here's a good one. eBay finally coming off this trend, right? We've been on this very strong trend for a while. This sort of thing offers opportunities as it comes into some sort of low. I'd like to get something like that. Again, our value side just nothing changes. These candle, some of these, this is where some of this weird price action over here on the Dow is interesting because this is all the tech here, and then everything else just continues to move. We should be getting further down. I don't expect this to come up too much. I expect us to continue to push down the dollar and to keep pushing up on gold, for instance, like gold play that we have. And keep strong, my friends. Again, like I said, trim your bushes. Because if you have bushes right now, you're getting really, the bushes are poking you in your eyeballs right now, I bet. Why it said trim the junk. Should only have things that, this is, again, this is that weird situation where you can get hurt on really short term or on short term positions that are not great, and you have a hard time. And then if you're in a position that's actually strong, this is the sort of situation where this is exactly what you expect, and you can go through it and you look at it as opportunity to put on the rest of your positions. And it's very hard to do that if you're not in a good position, because it will really change your frame of reference and your view on these things. If you're getting hurt on these positions that are, you want to hold through them, but you're actually losing and tanking, right? You're like on the fucking Titanic at an all-time high for no reason, and that's not good. That means you're in bad positions. And then also, if you're taking these trades and you get stopped out on them, again, you need to realize what you're doing and to continue to take that. You can't let it stop you from taking the trade again. So these growth trades, I get stopped out, I'm fucking right back, and I'm ready to take it again. It should be at a lower point, right? If you get stopped out, you should be buying at a lower point. It should not be at the same point you're buying, because now you should be profiting off that spread in the sense that you didn't lose money through it. So if you didn't lose money from where you got stopped out to where you bought to where you would be buying again, then you're doing completely fine there to be able to buy again. But this is where it comes down and you sell and then you buy higher, and now you lost money between that spread that you could have profited on, or at the very least not lost money on. And so that can get hard, and that's where you just gotta stay. You try to do these things and prepare yourself before. And that's what I meant by getting rid of some of those bad positions. Trust me, I had plenty of bad positions that I think we all had some of those where we make like our 100% trade, and then I think Momsky mentioned one with like I can't remember the trade, but one of them where then you hold to it. Yeah, I heart. Yeah, where you take it and then you don't really know. you actually don't know, and so you just keep pushing through it day to day, and then it like dissolves your position, and then it kind of just feels like okay, but you learn from it, right? That's why you just do it before. You do it before you find out. If you do the decision before you find out, and then take another decision after that, then you profit from not losing from point A to point B. By the way, I like where this is here, coming into the level, and I would definitely be buying this at a low. This is where you sell like one of these candles. You sell in one of these candles on that short term, and then you take your long term here. This is a woozy over here. That one's definitely giving me a little woozy. Not. Hmm. So here we go on the PG move here. Why I was bringing it up. If we can get this move here, oof. Again, our value trades are fucking insane. I still find it one of the funniest things is that people still look at it as such a weird, or they look at it as a concept instead of just an actual trade. It's very strange. And you can tell by this kind of price action here. Look at that fucking bad boy go. Right after we look at it, we're in that trade. I love it. I'm an absolute fan. Big fan. Let me get an autograph. Big fan. That's the kind of shit right there that, again, you don't need to win all of them. You gotta win the ones that are big. You gotta win the big ones. You gotta win the championship. Fucking love that right there. That is something right there. That's something. Fuck, I love that. Where's our dude? See, it's literally the same thing. It's quite literally the same thing. It's just condensed. But trust me, all those things are in there. They're in there. This is the astral plane. That's what that is. Pepsi keeps going. Oof. My 90% of my portfolio's value. 90%. 90%, baby. FUTU's on support. I'm all over it. Held support. You sell all the way down to support? Look at this. You gained 17% yesterday, and then you lost over 18% today, and it sets up your trade. What the fuck is that? That was so stupid. Reminds me of those old DraftKings trades from like 7 months ago that were like this. Were just some weird retail trading that happens where you can push something up so much and then sell it down even more just to go do it again. Very strange. How much? There's 10.5 million shares have already been traded today. It's 144 bucks. That is more than retail. That's some bullshit right there. That's called some people having a good time. That's some real trading going on. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. Wow. I wouldn't be surprised if I would not be surprised if this trades between the levels here. Based on what we see already, a lot of people that sell through here are the same people that bought here, and they'd buy it all the way back up again. People don't care about price. That's the reality, is people don't care about price. They care about the move that they're within and what it feels like and what it looks like and how it's moving, right? They don't really care what the price is. And so this is the good example where people are willing to buy here just to sell it all the way back, and you go back and forth, ping pong ball the shit out of this pinball. I would not be surprised if that comes up here today. I really would not. Funny. I do like DAL down there. Like that one. Okay. I don't want to force too many of these trades. I'm gonna be careful, but BA's holding quite a bit here. This could probably wait until close. Probably wait till close. If it gets a melt started though, it's 11:30. I think what I'll do is I'll put the longest term I would put on for this trade. I'll put it on now because I won't get affected during launch no matter what. Market makers will buy it back. Probably just put it on here. My lowest point, my stop can come down here. No big deal. Some of these again, I think we're getting a lot of intraday move to the downside, but barely any to the upside. And so it is something to keep in mind here. When you see something like Ford here, this is very difficult, and I still don't know what to do on this because it's not interacting well at all with this side. And so these are all they're all by themselves. The only thing that's consistent across the board is some selling. which is because we're at an all-time high, but that shouldn't translate to some of these tickers that are not at their all-time high. And so some of these, again, the timing is they're all by themselves. They're all alone. It's not easy to take some of these trades. And like this kind of thing here, right? Like I can say everything I said yesterday about holding through this, and then the selling continues here today. And it's like, it's never absolute, right? But now I'm on my trend. And this is again where it's so difficult to say. And again, you just stick with it, right? Sometimes these things are sometimes you're gonna get that variance, and it's gonna come into the point where you really question what the fuck you're doing. You really question what you're doing, but you stick with it. Stick with it. Be disciplined. Like I take this trade yesterday, and then I open higher, and then I start to sell and get stopped out, and then it's like, okay, well, you can't let it, again, it's going to happen, but you're not losing this. You lose right there. You lose the time and you get stopped out. You don't lose any money for getting stopped out right here. You don't. It's really easy to then go look and be like, well, now you're down 4. It's like, nope, I get stopped out and now it's down 4%. And so you have to go, this is where you can take a trade right here. Like I take this trade on support yesterday on trendline. Opens higher, but then I get stopped out. You can't then look at how this sold down another 4% and say that was a bad trade. But everything in your brain wants to tell you that, okay, I'm not going to do that again, right? Everything tells you, oh, I won't do that again because it sold 4% after. You're not within the 4%. You get stopped out right here. What happened thereafter doesn't matter to your position. It's really hard, though, to remove that. And I think a lot of times that's where people fail, is that, or especially those that, some of you have gone through this, where as soon as you start, if you lose your first couple trades, you don't want to do it anymore. You're done. And that can be very difficult, but it can happen where also you start to question everything you know. What I'm here for, boys. Don't you worry. I'm going to try it all for you. Look at this. I put the big fucking Baba trade on, and I might have to come all the way down here. Dude, trust me. I'll do it every time. I'll do it every time. It's not easy. It's not easy. We're on banks. Right into the level here. In terms of how much more? Not really much more. Right at the support, so right at the support across the board, which is very nice. I'm pretty confident about that position. Energy, we haven't moved from here, so again, this is just long term from here. So again, we're looking past today to tomorrow, so very important. Some of you having a difficult time. Looking for. Let me see here. So I had entered at this point before. This started to sell. I got stopped. Took for a profit. Do I want to put this back on right here on X? So again, some of my long-term trades have actually got exited, so now I'm trying to get back in them. I don't know if that's the spot, right? 21. I think I'm going to go throw this at 21 and preempt the move here. 21. It's at 2104. I mean, put this trade back on. So I get to split the spread here. I take profit, and then so I take profit, now I enter fucking 6% lower. So buy high, sell low, is that how you do it? Do some of these. Again, I hate to do some of these trades right before lunch, but that's how it works sometimes. Okay, this is pretty good. The problem is that everyone's so hungry on charts like this on the X chart because it's so volatile yet so it's such a good long term sort of thing. But it makes the timing you have to be perfect timing. But if people get so hungry and then this thing fucking whips right out of here. Not that we're not trading shares, but I would say the options and shares are very similar on this chart. Probably the same players based on what we've done so far. Okay. Should be no, this is interesting here. We still don't have a long term on AMD. And AMD, since it's the most bearish, but we still have been taking these trades, it probably is the best long term. And so the timing on here doesn't matter. That's for sure. Timing on here does not matter. I'm not looking to make this trade right this second or something, but I am watching closely how some of these trades are made. People are getting a little bit more aggressive. A little bit more aggressive in here recently since we took those low trades. Okay, perfect. Holding, holding. Gonna be a very funny hindsight week. 22, 23, 23 is Friday. Gonna be a fucking stupid hindsight week. Two and a half percent. And if this is Monday, just the same move, just different look. God, I couldn't imagine being blind trying to trade this stuff just hearing the numbers. No, it's a weird analogy to me. If you could only hear the numbers right now, fuck. When you look at some of the this move, if it turns again, if we just like how I'm betting and trading, if we just continue the trend here, it's gonna seem so strange to look at in hindsight. Some of the, when you add the numbers up through here, it's just very, very weird. Fucking love it. Trade's getting funky over here. I like it though. I like it. We're getting a lot of volatility. I'm actually gaining quite a bit of points on all these. The thing to remember here, guys, is that when we're taking long-term trades, you gain from this volatility and this movement. And if it's, especially if it's not happening to your position, it just happened in the market, you get more. But even if it does happen to you in some of these positions, this kind of thing, we're up 1% on squaring, but you're up a significantly more than 1% uh, on the option side because of the volatility involved with it and how there's like this, ooh, what's going on here? Because people will start to, you start to predict that there's going to be more volatility because of the volatility that's happening right now. It gets just, some of these, I can just see it and feel it, how some of these options I have, even though some of them, some of these things are happening like this where you could stop down and have to re-enter them, or some of these trades that a little bit more, you know, aggressive, I can just sit here and feel my position grow, right? I still have, again, if you look at the differences here, CCL came down a little bit further, had to get stopped out of that trade because of the way it worked, but the airline side still have. And then when you look at some of these, like, you should, this is again where that intuition to buy before things happen and then it starts to turn, that's where, and then you get confirmation and then you see it in the number, and they're very different things to look at candles and then look at the value of your options, because they're two different things. Still two different things at the end of the day. Not to let confidence over. You don't want to be overconfident, let bias just fuck you all the way down, but it's fun. Like the BA here, I still want to be patient, but yeah, gonna be whipping back and forth. The thing that is hard is to try to ignore some of the whips that we get through here. It's gonna be very hard to, if this whips here, to ignore it. And I think that's gonna be hard, because just like you want to ignore some of the price action this way, if you whip here and we just erase this, really important to ignore it in the same way. And we're just looking at the trend. We're looking at sort of the mean between those two. Sort of, again, like this target line. And so whatever the price action is here, if it rolls over and comes back down, trying to ignore some of that and just take it in the longer term is hard to do in the moment, especially if you're making trades actively. Again, trying to make a long-term trade, but you still have to do it in the moment, makes it difficult to look at the charts, I think. No, that's not what I want to look at. Okay, bonds are still being bought up, which, again, is a good thing. So, is a good thing. Natural gas is holding, which is nice. I think now that we're past Europe, because Europe had a rougher day, but again, I don't so much care about their problems that they're having over there. And I talked a lot about how I actually think Europe's going to do very well and they should do better. They're reacting to bond moves just like we have buying on our side. Now that they're closed, lunch doesn't have to really revolve around so much what's happening there. Obviously, it's coming out of the low right now, but for a melt up, we'll see what we get. Very curious also on the volume side. Something we should pay attention to this week is volume. See how much, it really is important to see how much flow we get overall. If we look and see, like, are we going to pick up volume from this pullback? That would be interesting to see if the price being healthy within the trend translates to more flow coming in. That can be a signal, again, of additional demand coming in because of people couldn't buy. Think about it. When things are trending, you have a really hard time going up there and buying it. And so you lose volume. And so when price pulls back, it offers a new opportunity to buy. It actually brings in more volume and more inflow. And that's why we need healthy price movement. Because again, you'll have the volume starts to come down. It's too hard to buy up here. If this leads to more, and we've seen that on a few of those charts, and I think just like my aggressiveness to want to go buy things. I think translates the same as everyone else's mentality, and be interesting to see because even when you look at this here, right, we can get this to come back up in terms of flow. I would like to see us on the next positive day to have more volume than the sell day before. So that would translate to the idea that we have here. And again, you can see it. I mean, you can feel it and see the difference there when you look at that. Not that we need to use that, but just as an analysis to look at. We'll see. I'm trying to put the pieces together the next to finish the week off. Again, just the thing we're looking at in active terms is just to put on our new active positions, take advantage of some of these moves here, and we have some cool ideas. I think some really cool ideas here. The Bob trade, trying to grab some of the travel side. Not easy, not easy. This kind of thing. You get stopped out, right? Trying to grab it. People get anxious, make decisions, right? Still looking for these though. Still looking for those ones that I got stopped out on. And then on the growth side, we have tickers like the F chart that these are not going to be these are, I would say, chaotic. They're not going to be, these are based on other people's behavior. They're not about the actual price. I mean, it's about the price, but it's not about the actual moves here. Very much about behavior of others. This, I'm going to decide by close. I think it's so many points that you could make a trade at least for tomorrow. At least for tomorrow. Tesla hasn't fucking budged. So we had a great low trade from there. I like that for my long-term. If that's my low for the long-term trade, I'm pretty happy about that. Again, we took some different ideas through here, different ideas here, but for a long-term trade, I'm happy with that price point. Below 700, right at 700 actually is the average. I think that's a good one. And then we have some other growth ideas. I think there's still some, we're still waiting for a lot of the other charts that I think have a lot of long-term value to it, but Amazon Grand, again, we're going to be slower the next couple weeks, but again, we want to be active even when we have some extra price action that we want to feel it. Still want to feel it. Like I said earlier, even right now, I don't really need to be here, but again, look, you're here and then you actually find new opportunities anyway. And so you have to always be working. That's the reality. So I would never take off. Who am I kidding? I don't even eat fucking food till 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. So fuck am I going to go to lunch for? Breakfast for? Who am I? All right, folks. Think I'm going to take a break for lunch? I love the price action so far. Again, look at it as opportunity. Don't look at it as turmoil or something. It's important to do right now. I will see you guys this afternoon. Depending on price action, we'll see what we have to talk about. I'll try to be a little more concise around close because right now, again, we have a different style, so I want to make sure commentary lines up with that. So we'll be a little bit more concise at close. So I'll see you then. Enjoy your lunch, drink some water, get some exercise, do something with your life. Or you don't have to, you can just fucking chill. That's cool. I'll see you guys later.